this. Like, my heart hurts. But it's really short, don't worry. So yeah, I hope it makes you feel uncomfortable. All right, cool. So it's called 27. 27. That's the number of millions of people enslaved today. Smartphones, shoes, and even the candy we eat made for a price and sold twice as high. Standing in line waiting for Jordans that cost $1 to make, and then complaining when they don't have your size. But his eyes burn like the midnight oil that's running out on his 18-hour day that he has to wake up to go back to in 3 hours because he has a debt to pay. Or how about the midnight Google searches bombarding your mind with adulterous lies? 1. That's how many times it takes for your brain to carve out a neurological road that leads to a particular memory, making it easier to go back and remember. 2. That's how many incognito tabs you have open. 3. That's how many seconds you had to close that first pop-up that started the fascination. 14. That's how old I was when my curiosity got the best of me, sitting in the back of my bio class when a classmate of mine told me about something his cousin showed him. I didn't believe him. So the inquisitive mind that made me a straight A student till grade 5 sent me straight into addiction. Planning the time that I needed to do my homework versus time that my dad would get home. Left me just enough time to learn what I had to do once I got married. I mean, that's how I justified it. I wasn't doing anything wrong at all, just preparing myself. So 14 turned into 15, which turned into 16, and as the years went on, so did fascination with the taboo. And I was taught that it was bad unless you were married, but that's like telling a kid not to eat candy while walking past a candy store and expecting them not to look in the window. And when I was 16, I almost lost my virginity to a guy that, thank God, I am no longer with. But that's besides the point. And I got rededicated. Then at 17, I got baptized and still had wandering eyes. So 19 turned into 20, and it's funny, because I thought I was over it. But something triggered, and what I learned in psych class, or a show that I saw, or something that I read, I fought inside and out of my mind, trying to commit mental suicide, but it was like playing Russian roulette with no rounds. I was a punk, and a coward, and a liar, and I stood up on large group telling the tale of how God saved me from a sin that I sat in for 6 years. On and off. So technically, it wasn't that serious, right? Okay, so I didn't really lie. Because I knew that most of the words that I spoke were true. God really did deliver me from a death that I chose to cling to. Then 21 turned into 22. Until I began to realize, I fell again. Not once, but twice. Until I really began to understand the price of life. That the C and C walk didn't stand for crib, but for Christ. That man died on a T for you and me, but that C will not stand for him, but for chains. Until you claim the city you've been sitting in for weeks on end. Being self-conscious about what people will think of you, about the lies you walk with on your back instead of a cross. And so I command you to walk. Walk to the altar, feet and knees, follow your feet and change. And change the culture of your circles. Change the industry so that these women who give false representation of a moment shared between a husband and a wife, who are forced into this profession either by a pimp or by pride, and make you believe that exploring yourself is perfectly fine and totally not selfish, even though you're alone behind closed doors. A company will make you feel good about their guilt, who forces you to pay more for the product than they do for the labor. Charity starts at home. And if you can't develop a change of heart, the world never will. And if you can't transform your mind, your life and the ones around you will refuse. And if you keep repeating your ways and never repent, renewal won't happen. 27. That's the number of millions of people who are enslaved today. At least physically, anyway.
I'm out of